Hi there, my name is Chris Hilbig from chrishilbig.com, and today we're going to talk about screen tones. Now, some of you may ask, well, what the heck is a screen tone? Well, let me go ahead and give you a visual. That is an example of a screen tone, and generally I define a screen tone as any type of pattern. It could be dots, squares, diamonds, little hatch marks, lines, but generally anything that represents a shade or a value. Alright, let's go ahead and introduce you guys to the color halftone filter. We can find that within the filter menu under pixelate, color halftone. Okay, now let me go ahead and explain how the color halftone filter works. Basically, what the color halftone filter tries to simulate is a cmyk separation, and cmyk stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Now, given the fact that we're within RGB mode, it's only going to break it down into RGB, which is red, green, and blue. But like I said, the color halftone filter tries to simulate a CMYK separation. You can see the 4 different channels and with each channel there's a different degree or angle. And up in here is our maximum radius, and that's going to be ideal for those screen tones where you have a gradation, and basically it's going to jump, or it's going to gradate from large dots to smaller dots. So let's go ahead and click OK to give you a taste of what it can do. Alright, there's our middle gray broken down by the color halftone filter. And just to show that we're in RGB mode, there we are. And instead of literally breaking this down into CMYK, it's broken down into R, G, and B. And I'm clicking on each of the individual channels within the channels palette right now. Okay, just for giggles, we're going to go ahead and jump from RGB mode to CMYK mode and give you a little demonstration on how the color halftone channel will literally break down a color into CMYK. Let's go to image, mode, CMYK color will give us big bag nasty warning. Alright, in our channels palette over here, we have our composite channel, and then our cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Let's go ahead and run the filter. There we go, our black channel, yellow channel, magenta channel, and cyan channel. And then finally our composite. Alright, next up we're going to go over the basics of using the color halftone filter to create our traditional screen tones. Now, in my basic setup, we're back into RGB mode. In the middle, I have my middle gray. On the right-hand side is a 90% gray, almost black. On the left-hand side is a 10% gray, almost white. So let's go ahead and jump into our color halftone filter. Under filter, pixelate, color halftone. Alright, we're not going to worry about the maximum radius because basically that's going to be the size of our biggest dot. But what we're going to do is set each and every channel to the same angle. And what that's going to do is that it's going to literally align all the screens and they're going to look black. So let's go ahead and tell it OK. Alright, now you can more or less see the range of what the color halftone is capable of. Here's our 10% gray, our middle gray, and our 90% gray. And we'll go ahead and undo this. Alright, now we'll jump back to our color halftone filter. We'll try this out using a 45-degree angle. Alright, here we go. Our 10% gray, our 50% gray, and our 90% gray. Alright, and now that we know we can use the gradient tool in conjunction with the color halftone filter, let's see what's possible with a little airbrushing. And what I'm using here is a regular soft brush. The opacity is set to 10%. And I'm just going to make a basic gradation. Okay, and we'll go ahead and run the color halftone filter. Now, just like with the gradation tool, the color halftone filter was able to go from stark white and create bigger and bigger dots to our, I guess we'll say it's a 75% gray. Now, I know a lot of colorists, they utilize marquee tools such as the circle marquee tool or the lasso tool, any type of selection tool, more or less as a template for their airbrush work. Like here's a great example. Now let's go ahead and use our brush tool in conjunction with this. Go ahead. Alright, then we'll run the color halftone filter. Now, I want to make a note here, or a point. Now right here, in this area, it's a little rougher than some of the edges down here. Now, unfortunately, the color halftone filter isn't smart enough to detect that edge over here. And generally it's due to the fact that A, it's not smart enough to detect edges, and B, the colors are just close enough to where the color halftone filter can just turn that into a basic gradation. Now let me show you what happens when I don't have a selection on that shape. See, the color halftone filter tries to stair step it into a gradation here. Let's do another example. Just do a basic fill, run the color halftone filter. Alright, and as we can see here, the color halftone filter wasn't smart enough to recognize that there was a hard edge around there. So it's going to end up softening it up once it does its conversion. So what we want to do instead, whenever we want hard edges, we'll go ahead and use any of our selection tools. And instead of deselecting, we'll keep it selected and then run our color halftone filter. See this nice sharp edge? Alright gang, the next technique we're going to discuss is overlaying screens. And basically it's as advertised. We're going to take two screens and we're going to lay one on top of the other. And this is great for creating shadows within the tones that you have. So let me go ahead and give you a demonstration. Let's go ahead and start with our base tone here. We'll run the color halftone filter on that. And I'll actually go through the steps. Go ahead and use a 45-degree angle for that. Then we'll go to our layers palette. We'll create another layer. We'll set the blend mode for that layer to multiply. Now we can do either one of two things. Either we can use one of our selection tools like the lasso tool, create a selection, fill that with color, or we could fill the entire layer with a gray and then use a layer mask, which we can create by clicking on the layer mask button. And then we can use any of our selection tools to mask that layer out. So let's go ahead, we'll use a layer with a layer mask, and we'll go into our color halftone filter, and we'll shift the screen tone just slightly. We'll use 108 degrees. There we go. Here's our base screen tone at a 45-degree angle, and here's our overlay. That's using a 108-degree angle. And like I said, we're using a layer mask, so we can easily just go ahead, brush in our screens, or we can take them out. Alright, and actually this is great for another technique we're going to discuss a little later on, called the scraping technique. Now, one other thing that I want you to notice is something that we refer to as a moire effect. And that usually happens whenever we create more than one screen tone and lay them on top of each other. They'll create a wacky little pattern like we see over here on the right. And either it's going to work out for you or it's going to irritate the hell out of the eye. And really, this is your own judgment call. So either you're going to notice that it's working out well, or it's not working out at all. Alright, the last technique we'll discuss is what I refer to as the scraping technique. And just like in real life, if you would have laid down your screen tone, burnished it onto your paper, you would have grabbed an X-Acto knife and just scratched away at it. And that's pretty much what we're doing here. I have a new layer set to multiply. It's on top of a white background, and I just hop onto the layer mask and just scratch away. And if I screw up, I can either undo or I can jump to white and restore what I shouldn't have scratched. This technique I've seen used for creating lights, transitions, and even clouds, heck. And you can either use a hatch pattern or you can literally scribble away, but you're just more or less scraping away tone. Alright, and I apologize for this video being so long. So in our next video, we're going to go ahead and take what we learned and apply those techniques to an illustration. We'll see you then.